AI. Can't live with it, can't live without it. Am I right, fellas? So I know what you're thinking. You read the title and you went, there's no way I'm listening to AI music. I know that. I'm not stupid. And look, I'm not trying to clickbait you. I'm not trying to retention bait you. But if you listen to the end of this video, you'll realize probably a high enough chance that you have accidentally listened to something like this before. November was your museum abstract boom bap moment, was the straw that broke the camel's back for me when Spotify did their Spotify Wrapped last month. Now, I know talking about Spotify being bad to artists and kind of spiraling the industry towards commodification of artists is kind of, a worn out conversation for now. But this is a little different, because the longer I let that kind of thing linger in my head, I was like, did a human really write this? And look, I'm not stupid. I know why they do this. It's so people will screenshot these silly little genres and go, what the hell is this? And post it on Twitter and Instagram, and more people are talking about the Spotify Wrapped everywhere. I get it. And you know what? It reminded me of a few years back, I think it was 2020, where they said everyone's favorite genre was escape room. And everyone was like, what's escape room? I don't listen to that. And I went and did a little research on escape room, and that was a thread that unraveled a whole lot more. So if we go back all the way to the distant past of 2020, Fader wrote an article exactly on this. There was a data architect at Spotify called Glenn McDonald, and what he specialized in creating were these micro genres, which, look, I'll be honest, I don't know if I can fully get behind. I think it's kind of silly nonsense, but, this was the passion project this guy was working on in his workplace, so, you know what, power to him. But, he continued, and he decided that there were 5,071 micro genres, escape room being one of them. And he went along and he named all of them by himself. Unless they already existed, like, jazz or rock or hip-hop. He went and filled in the gaps. So I went, Glenn made all these 5,000 odd genres, like, a couple of years back. By 2024, he probably has, like, 10,000 micro-genres, for all I know. And maybe that's what museum abstract boom bap is. But to my curiosity, I found a website where he categorized all of these micro-genres called everynoise.com. And on this website, he has all of his micro-genres listed in some sort of order from top to bottom. It's a fun little website to look at. I'll link it below. You can have a little peruse yourself. But interestingly enough, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll find this little message. And the message reads, 5th of January 2024, status update. With my layoff from Spotify in December of 2024, I lost the internal data access required to keep up this website. Most of this is now just a static snapshot of what was, and will now be the final state of this website after 10 years. Which, all of this, pretty sad. This guy was clearly a very talented data analyst / architect, and he got laid off from Spotify. So that means he's not the guy who named all of these microgenres. So what is this actually about? So I did a little digging. Glenn got sacked in 2023, but he's not the only one who lost their job. 2,289 other Spotify employees also got sacked throughout the year of 2023. And for what reason, you may ask? Well, Spotify has said it's for a concerted effort on AI. They want AI to do a lot of the jobs that the people could do. So, I'm not saying they made an AI algorithm go through all their genres and come up with bullshit titles for us to have to deal with, but I'm saying it's pretty possible. So there's also this quote about these layoffs from Spotify CEO Daniel Ek, and what he said is, the primary way you should think of these initiatives is that it creates greater engagement. Greater engagement means we can reduce churn. Greater engagement also means we produce more value for consumers. And that value to price ratio is what allows us to raise prices. like we did this past quarter with great success. So there you go. Not great stuff. But maybe you're a glass half full optimist and you're thinking, well, if they're paying less people and they're charging more for subscriptions, maybe that means they can pay their artists more. Finally, that's what all this is about. No, the rates at which Spotify pay artists per stream has gone down every year, despite the subscription fee going up every year and them having mass layoffs. This is just another example of one of these big tech companies or big multinational corporations abusing and exploiting their workers, which in this case are the musicians, to squeeze them out for every penny just so they can top up the wages of those at the top. But here's where all of this gets very interesting. Obviously what we were talking about before was pretty sad, but this stuff is just weird. So this is a story that was broken by a Spanish news outlet El Diario. They found this artist called Sophia Pitcher, who's allegedly a Canadian singer-songwriter. And the reason I say allegedly is because if you look for her anywhere online, all you can find are Spotify links that send you to songs that aren't on the platform anymore, and nothing else. That's it. No interviews with local radio stations or local music publications. Nothing. And despite having no interviews, no internet presence, no social media, she managed to accrue 3,000 odd monthly listeners. And look, I know some people in small bands in the local scene. It's pretty hard to get a couple thousand monthly listeners on Spotify. That doesn't just happen overnight. But in this case, it did happen overnight. And with no marketing, no publications. Really strange. And what's stranger is Sophia Pitcher's entire length of time on Spotify was about 60 days. And stranger again, and look, obviously not everyone is a celebrator of Christmas, but her album that she released one album, then dipped 60 days later. Her album was released on Christmas Eve, 24th of December, 2023. And maybe you're thinking, oh, maybe it was a Friday. No, it was a Sunday. So she released it on a Sunday in December, which is Christmas Eve, which is a big holiday celebrated, by a lot of people in the West, but, whatever. And she released it on Christmas Eve, which is a weird day to release music. And her album was up for 60 days and it was gone. Very strange. There's more. So she was signed to a record label called Citrus Reticula. And what's interesting about this record label is there's also no information about them online. But there's also a bunch of other artists that are credited to this Citrus Reticula. And I'll list them off for you here. Jefferson Peterson, Zolia Zayas, Alvaro Cantu, Isabella Carpinelli, Diego Tobia, Craig Penry, and Saul DeLeon. Notice anything funny from those screenshots? Those grayed out song names mean their music isn't on Spotify anymore. You want to know what else? They were all uploaded on the 24th of December 2023, and they were all taken down 60 days later. What's going on here? And look, maybe you're saying okay, look, this person or this company made a bunch of AI songs, put them on Spotify. They were down 60 days later. Who cares? But what this really is a proof of concept. You can upload a bunch of nondescript garbage to Spotify, get it onto some Spotify playlists, and you'll accrue a few thousand streams. That's revenue. If you do this times 100, even if you're just getting a few thousand streams, it all adds up. As long as your song's over a minute, which all of these songs, according to El Diario, are just over a minute, that means you're eligible for Spotify revenue. And that means if you're getting a lot of streams, if you're on a playlist, you're going to be earning a lot of money and taking away the attention from real artists. So here we have our central thesis. Why are these AI artists a threat to real artists? So let's do a thought exercise. Let's say there's some fictitious streaming service called Listeners. And let's say they pay their artists 0.1 cent per stream, which I know is generous. And on the listener's homepage, there's music generated for you. Gym music to make you lift more, chill study vibes, and late night jazz. All made for you, of course. So these playlists are filled with popular artists that people like to listen to when they work out or when they're chilling out or trying to study, etc. And listeners has to pay all of these pesky artists their dues. But wait, says the head AI developer at listeners, what if we trained some AI to cover some of these songs? Because humans can cover songs, why can't AI? Genius. Because now these popular playlists with all these songs people like to listen to can be replaced by AI covers. And most people won't notice. Some people will, but most people won't. Genius, right? But that wouldn't actually happen in real life. Oh, wait, what's this? A Forbes article reading, platforms like Spotify and YouTube are already quietly incorporating AI to populate playlists and suggest music. By 2025, expect AI-generated content to flood these platforms, often disguised as human-created. This practice erodes listener trust and devalues genuine artistry. And this is interesting because another news outlet, Fast Company, reported a few other AI bans, including Sophia Pitcher and a Jet Fuel and the Ginger Ale. And when Fast Company reached out to Spotify for comment on these AI artists, they got no response. And look, big companies don't respond to journalists all the time. Doesn't necessarily mean they've made these artists, but it is interesting nonetheless. But seriously, this Jet Fuels and the Ginger Ales, man, look these guys up. Their music's still on Spotify, and they have like 35,000 monthly listeners. And if you Google them online, you'll find nothing on them except for their Spotify links, or I think they're on some other streaming services, and a Reddit post being like, hey guys, is this band really weird to anyone else? Listen to one of their songs, genuinely, pause the video, go listen to one of their songs if you have Spotify. It's serious Uncanny Valley stuff. They have this cover of Carry On You Wayward Son that's it's oh my god, what is this? You can tell there's something off about it. It's not, these aren't real. It's so scary. And it's not scary because robots are making music or whatever. It's scary because these are bad actors subbing into playlists for soft rock or classic rock or whatever, covering songs made by real people and taking the money that could be going to real artists, even though they're giving people fractions of pennies. And this is a big deal. Maybe you're wondering, is this even legal? Currently, yes. The UK is apparently currently debating AI copyright and content theft and stuff. But it is a debate which is concerning, right? And obviously the big money people at the top of the ladder want these AI things to succeed because they can pay people less and they can earn more. And what's scary about this is because the UK are doing this first, whatever they decide, the EU might follow suit and the US might follow suit, which basically means the hands of the future of artists on these streaming platforms are basically with British bureaucrats. Not the kind of people you want to be making decisions on the behalf of artists. So times like this are unprecedented, and naturally, if you're an artist, comes anxiety because, the unknown is scary. As much as people like us probably detest this AIification of art and commodification of artists and music, etc., the reality is kind of the zeitgeist right now is convenience. People thrive on convenience, and most people don't really listen to music or engage with movies or engage with video games or whatever in a very intentional way. They kind of want, they work their hard work, and then they want, they want to go to the gym, so they just hit workout playlist. And I get it. I completely get it why people do that. We can't put the fault on consumers. And, because these big greedy corporations are probably going to thrive and make loads of money on these AI business models, that just means they're going to happen and they're going to succeed, and we're just going to see it time and time again. But, what does that mean we can do as people who do care about art and do want to intentionally listen to music and watch films or whatever? Well, let's take a step away from this convenient structure. Let's take away from Spotify. Let's look at places like Bandcamp. Let's look at going to things in your local music scene. Like, go see some small artist gigs. You know, join community forums like Rate Your Music or Letterboxd or whatever. Join a Discord. Start a YouTube channel where you talk about the things you like into a camera. Make community. These are things that are innately human, and you can't have any AI actors come in and take that away from you. And I think that's the best we can do, is to try ground ourselves, build community around us, and we'll always have the things we care about. And yeah, so that's my bit. That's my bit on AI music and AI on Spotify. If you've made it this far, thank you. And also, I'd really appreciate if you could subscribe, because if you're sticking through the video this long, you'll like what's coming. I know I don't have too much out right now, but I'm working on stuff. It's coming. So yeah, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or night or whatever, and I'll see you later.